Oh, hey, the lefty, I want you to know how much I hate stupid videos. Hey man, you suck.
Hey there, my name is Jason. I'm a registered polysomnographic technologist or a sleep tech. I'm also the founder of freecpapadvice.com and the forum and moderator freecpapadvice.com/forum. I did a video a while ago called Sleep Apnea is Fake and a Fraud, at which point I went on to, you know what, watch the video. Anyway, I have a comment about it, and they actually bring up some fantastic points about they actually do believe that sleep apnea is a fraud. So what I wanted to do is just kind of hit those points head on and then maybe show a clip. If you scroll down in the comment section of this video, Sleep Apnea is a Fraud, you'll find a comment from Margaret Visiglio. So Margaret Visiglio, she writes a lot, and I'm just going to read the whole thing now, and then I'll answer it point by point. If CPAP machines are so good, how come there are so many people selling them on eBay? Typical ad runs, bought machine for $2,500, sell for $450. Used for 2 weeks. I don't need it now because I have lost weight. Maybe CPAP machines should be part of a Weight Watchers program. People sew their lips together so they don't have to use them. My doctor is pushing me to use one, and I am being railroaded into trying a machine. I have no intention of buying or using a machine, and I think the whole thing is a scam. The machines were developed by a doctor who was investigating sudden infant death syndrome. If they work so well, why aren't they used on babies? Because elderly people have more disposable income than babies do. That's why. And the doctors take advantage of their credulity and force them to buy machines they don't want and won't use. Hence, the number of machines for sale on eBay.
Good. I can feel your anger. Let the hate flow through you. It makes you stronger. It gives you focus.
Now, Margaret, I don't know that I would use eBay as the metric for the efficacy of CPAP. So really the crux of the argument here is that because there's a lot of machines on eBay, that means that somehow they don't work. What I would argue, counter to that, is that the reason there's so many machines on eBay, she actually mentions that it's because people have lost weight is one of the reasons that people stop using CPAP. That might account for a very small percentage of them. I think most of the machines that you'll see on, actually you missed a huge market, is Craigslist. Craigslist has a ton of them, and same kind of thing. Bought it, like sometimes they'll have 0 hours of use. Most of these that you'll see on Craigslist or on eBay, it's because the people gave up. And the reason they gave up is because there's absolutely no follow through in using CPAP therapy. People are given a mask, people are given a machine. Often they have absolutely zero instruction on how to use it. They have no instruction on how to put the mask on. They're given no options as far as what mask to use, so they're using an inappropriate mask. As far as the machines, they're not told how the machine works, why the machine works, and the benefits of using the machine. Oftentimes, they don't even get to go over the results of the study. Sometimes they don't even have a sleep specialist that they've ever seen. So you pile all this stuff on top of someone who knows absolutely nothing about sleep apnea and the treatment of it and why everything is important and how it all links together, and that's a recipe for failure. You go home without knowing any of this stuff, why the hell would you use it? You put it on, everything sucks, man, I'd pull it off too. If you start to tackle the reasons one by one of why is this failing? Okay, maybe the mask is uncomfortable. Maybe there's a mask leak. God, I didn't realize I'm going to have a stroke if I don't use this thing. A lot of these people, you say, quit because they lost weight. Well, have you ever thought that the reason they lost weight is because they were using CPAP? A lot of people use CPAP and they find that their metabolism increases and then they have the energy to exercise. Also consider that a lot of these times these machines are being bought. Yeah, the insurance is being billed for $2,500. The patient's paying absolutely nothing. They're turning around and they're like, man, I can make a quick $500 and this thing sucks. So I wouldn't really say that just because they're being sold means that they're ineffective. I think that what it's more a commentary on is that patients are being grossly underserved and being neglected. And then that's exactly why my website was started. I'm seeing patients over and over and over again in the sleep lab. None of them know what the hell's going on, so I'm explaining it to them. Once it kind of clicks, they're like, oh, geez, man, I wish someone would have told me this. Okay, now I'm going to take it seriously. Then there's a few doctors that we have that refer to our group they're fantastic at explaining it, and all those patients, I would call them like hardcore. They're into it. They understand everything about it. And so that's what I'm doing this video series for. I'm trying to educate people so you can all be kind of self-sufficient with it. But I totally understand the skepticism about sleep apnea and CPAP. All right, let's go on to the next point. All right, so she says that her doctor is pushing her to use one, and she's being railroaded to try a machine. Quite honestly, CPAP is the gold standard. I don't know anything about you. I don't know what your weight is. I don't know what your BMI is. I don't know what your anatomical structure is in your upper airway. But usually if your doctor is trying to push you to do something, it's probably a good idea to at least investigate it. Now, if you see some shadiness, like the guy owns the lab that he's trying to send you to, or he's the guy that owns the DME company that's going to sell you a mask and machine, then I'd kind of raise an eyebrow to it. Maybe investigate and do some, get a second opinion. But if you ask to see the report and you see that your AHI is, sky high, well, odds are you have it. I mean, would you say that if you have high blood pressure, your doctor is trying to railroad you into using a high blood pressure medication? If you had a heart condition and your doctor was pushing you for surgery, would you say that they have your best interests in mind if they recommend a surgery? They usually make recommendations based on what is the best for the patient. Now, I can understand you being skeptical of it if you're skeptical of, say, in this case, sleep apnea as a whole. But at least it's worth some investigation. And so you raise some great points. The next point is the machines were developed by a doctor. This is Dr. Colin Sullivan. So if anyone has a ResMed machine, they used to be called Sullivan. Now they're called like S8, then S9. The S is for Sullivan. So they were developed by Dr. Sullivan, Colin Sullivan, who was a doctor investigating sudden infant death syndrome. If they work so well, why aren't they used on babies? They are used on babies. It's just that, this is back in 1980. Sleep apnea really started coming into the, mainstream education about it was really the late 1990s. But yeah, they initially did use them on infants, and even now we'll use them on babies sometimes. It's super rare, but sometimes infants that have Down syndrome, they have a very crowded airway and a super large tongue. It's extremely crowded, and it's something that surgery can't correct. Now on what you would call like a healthy baby without something like Down syndrome, you're going to remove the tonsils and you're going to remove the adenoids. So in that, yeah, we've changed it up a little bit. But to claim that it was because it was developed for one thing, it was developed for babies to try to take care of sudden infant death syndrome, that's insane. Look at Viagra. Viagra was used initially for hypertension. And it still works for hypertension. It really drops the blood pressure, but it also results in something else. And that's exactly what CPAP is. It may have been developed initially for one thing, but they found a better use for it. And you see this in pharmacology all the time. They develop it for one thing and it gets used for another. There's nothing new here. So then she goes on to make the claim that because elderly people have more disposable income than babies do, that's why. Well, yeah, okay, I guess I could see that point. But elderly people also have a lot more flaccid tissue than younger people who have more taut muscles. You can even see it like in muscles, or look at someone's butt. It's nice and firm when you're a 20-year-old. When you get to be 60, it's a little bit saggy. Same thing happens with your upper airway. If you have saggy tissue here, it's going to fall into your airway. And so you're going to see the cases of sleep apnea rise because of stuff like that. And these are in people who aren't overweight. That's why typically when people start getting older, even if they're pretty skinny, you start seeing sleep apnea increase more and more. All those tissues are starting to sag. Although if you ever see a baby with like a big gold chain on, the doctor's probably going to put them on CPAP. And then she goes on to point out, and doctors take advantage of their credulity and force them to buy machines that they don't want and won't use. Hence the number of machines for sale on eBay. I would totally argue that as well. A lot of people, yeah, there's a good number of them that don't want to use it. I don't want to use it. I don't think anyone wants to use it. It's just that you see that the benefits are there. And so you use it because the benefits are there. My thyroid died on me. I have to take pills every single day. I friggin' hate it. But if I don't take it, I get a goiter and I can't breathe. Then I start gaining weight. I hate it. I friggin' hate it. And then all it is a pill. I can't stand it. It's the same thing with CPAP. Who the hell wants to wear something on their face? Seriously, no one wants to wear it on their face. But it's so highly linked to congestive heart failure, diabetes that isn't manageable, high blood pressure that's not manageable by medication, daytime sleepiness, accidents being sky high because of that, stroke. There's all these reasons why your doctor wants you to use it. It's not because, man, this guy's got a ton of cash, let's go ahead and if that were true, all these people that are on I'm out in California, all these people that are on Medi-Cal, it pays nothing. I think the state's losing money on it. It's not like a big money grab here. It's doing it because it's the right thing to do. Same with the folks that are on Medicare. It's not like Medicare reimbursements have been cut like crazy, and yet the increase in, you might use this as an argument against it, but the number of people being diagnosed is increasing. Now you might say, well, God, they got to increase the numbers so they can make more money. I look at it the opposite. There's just more knowledge about it than there was back in 1990 or back when this guy invented it in 1980. All right, so she thinks, I guess, that, I don't know if she's saying sleep apnea is a scam, but let me go ahead and pull up a little something from the best website in the world, freesleepapadvice.com. I want to follow along or see this in a different spot. Go to freesleepapadvice.com. Then you're going to click on sleep disordered breathing tab. Then you're going to click on the obstructive sleep apnea tab. Now I have examples on all this stuff, but right now I'm on obstructive sleep apnea, and then I double clicked on the OSA 2-minute picture, which is a JPEG. Then you have to click on it again. It's going to open it up real big. All right. So right here we have left eye, right eye, chin. F3 is the one right here. Then we have C3, and then we have O1. Okay, right here, this line is the snoring, and then we have the legs together here, and then we have flow. This is the cannula that's in your nose. Chest, this is the belt that's around your chest. Abdomen is the belt that's around your stomach. EKG, and then we have SpO2, the blood oxygen level. Okay, so this is a 2-minute window. So what we see right here is a nice giant obstructive apnea. So you can see the airflow up, down, and then it goes completely flat. That is obstructive sleep apnea. Right here you can see this is the end of another sleep apnea, and you can see right here that the EEG, this is a brain activity, gets slow. This one's actually obstructing a better one, but right here you can see how it's a lot faster than it is, say, right here where they're asleep, and right here where they're asleep and not breathing. All of a sudden, you can see there's a snort, there's a leg movement, and then you can see the EEG get extremely thick. That's because they're woken up, and then you also see a jaw movement from their chin right here. Now, if you follow this down, you'll see, it's kind of hard to see, but you can see another, like a yo-yo effect of the heart. Now, this is why it's so bad on the heart. It makes your heart work twice as hard. So you see this yo-yo effect where it's real wide, and then it gets real fast, usually right when the people wake up. That fight or flight response, because your body's trying to wake you up, so you get these constant adrenaline bursts. You go to sleep again, it gets wide, and again here, right where they wake up, the EKG or your heart gets extremely fast again. Now you can also see right here, it's difficult to see, but the blood oxygen level, it goes from 97%, and then it drops down here all the way to 91%. All right, so now hopefully we can all agree that sleep apnea is in fact real. Now, why would you need to fix this? Why is that even a problem? Well, people who have sleep apnea and don't realize it, there's some things that they notice, but they decide to ignore them as being part of sleep apnea. Now, one of them is a dry mouth and a sore throat when you wake up. That's a dead giveaway that someone has sleep apnea. If you have, consider yourself if you're like holding your breath underwater. You go underwater, you're holding your breath. First thing you do when you come up for air is so do it. Hold your breath for like 20 seconds, or hold your breath for as long as you can. And then when you breathe, you're not going to be sucking it through your nose most likely. You do it a couple times in a row. You can see how fast your throat dries out. You can see how fast it makes your throat sore. That's one key that you have sleep apnea. Another thing is people will wake up at night, and as I just showed you by the heart, the EKG, how it speeds up and slows down. When people wake up and they remember it, because typically people with sleep apnea wake up and they don't remember it. If you wake up and you remember it, oftentimes people say, oh God, my heart was thumping like crazy. I was having a nightmare. I feel like I'm running in my sleep. I'm sweating all the time. That's why you're dumping adrenaline into your system every time you have this. So sometimes you'll see adrenal gland deficiencies because of this repeated thing over and over again throughout your life if it's untreated. But people will say, I feel like I'm running a marathon and I wake up and my heart's just slamming out of my chest. But no. I don't have sleep apnea. It's another clue that you probably do. Now, snorting yourself awake, if you wake up a lot and like that, you're asleep. That too. So you can see this big, you have some better ones here of the snort. There's no snoring here because they're not breathing, but snort, snort, snort. Snorting yourself awake is another, that's a sign of an obstruction. If you're, no obstruction, but if I close my throat, I can make a lot of noise like a snore, that is an obstruction. You don't have to have a complete cessation for you to get the same bad stuff going on. All you need is for it to decrease enough that it causes you to wake up and it causes your heart to go fast, it causes your blood oxygen levels to drop and all that. So another thing with this blood oxygen desaturation, going from 97 to 91, you're going to wake up with a hell of a headache. You do that all night. Sometimes this person isn't in REM at the time, but some people go into REM and man, they drop out like crazy. They wake up with a screaming headache. So if you have a screaming headache, you wake up with a sore throat, if you wake up with heart palpitations, if you wake up with snorts and snoring, and you wake up sweaty as hell, probably have sleep apnea. So now you're probably saying, well, I don't have all those. I have 4 out of 5, or I have 2 out of 5. Well, sometimes people have, well, not sometimes, people have varying levels of sleep apnea. It doesn't always have to be crazy high or crazy severe. Sometimes people have real subtle stuff like RERAs. And those are sneaky as hell because you have this blood oxygen level that just drops 2%, but yet everything else remains. Everything else is the same as obstructive sleep apnea, except you don't have that blood oxygen desaturation. And then they're still moving most air through, but they're still waking up. The heart's still going like crazy. They just don't wake up with headaches. That's the only difference. So the whole point of CPAP is you pressurize the upper airway so that anything that is collapsing into the airway, it gets forced open by the air. Think of what a car tire does with the weight of the car. All there is air inside of the tire, and that's sufficient to hold up the airway. So that's why different people require different amounts of CPAP pressure. It's like a car being extremely heavy. You need a different amount of pressure to hold up the weight of the car. But you're not a car tire. You are a person and you breathe and you have feelings. You don't like the feel of stuff on your face. A car tire doesn't need to understand its purpose. It just spins and holds up the tire. People are different. People need to know, a lot of times like me, I need to know why I'm doing something. I need to know why it's helping me. If you hold the airway open, you're able to breathe like you are during the day. You're not going to have these snorts. You're not going to have these oxygen desaturations. You're going to sleep through the night and you're going to sleep great. But you have to fix the variables. And so all these people who are selling their masking machines on eBay, they have not fixed the variables. And so they become frustrated and they get rid of the machine. A lot of people, when they seek help on my forum, freecpapadvice.com/forum, there's always a small variable, and there's only about 3 of them really. You isolate the variables, you fix the variables, and then the people sleep great. There's no secret. There's really not much disputing it that it works. So back in the day, before CPAP was invented, they still knew sleep apnea was real. The treatment for it was a tracheotomy. So a big hole right here, you bypass the upper airway, so you don't need to inflate anything. You just have a giant hole in your throat, all cured. That still works to this day, but seriously, how many people want to have a stoma right here in the middle of their neck? Hopefully that sufficiently answered the question, and I'm sure I'll get some more, and I'm sorry that was way longer than I intended for it to be. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel. We always accept donations on our website, and I'm just starting something new to try to raise funds so I can devote more time to doing this kind of thing, CPAP education. We started something called Patreon, and Patreon is a website, I guess it's new, I don't know, but it's where creators beg for money, and that's what I am. I'm a creator, and I'm begging for money. So what you can do is you can sponsor me. You can do $1 a month or $2 a month, all the way, sky's the limit. If you have a rich uncle, you let that rich uncle know, old Uncle Jason's helping people out there. Anyway, we appreciate your support. Thank you. Bye.